Scrape yourselves off the canvas, fight fans. It is finally time for the 10-8 round podcast. I am your host, Zach from Filthy Philadelphia, joined by noted betting expert and part-time Floridian John. John, how excited are you for Saturday?
Wow. I can't believe we're here already. My excitement is crazy. That is the first time I've been referred as the betting expert.
Maybe last time, depending on how this goes.
Exactly. So this is what we're here to determine, really. This is very much a test procedure here. So,
well, let's get right into the good stuff, round one, which is where we geek out about fights we're excited about. And then we'll do our test run, which is really what this podcast is. It's really to find out if you can gamble or not.
Okay, I'm here for it. I love it, man. This is what I'm built for. Let's do it.
You're built for it. So let's start with round one. I think round one is what fights are we most excited for? And I think we got to start with our main event. We got to start Street Jesus Jorge Masvidal versus noted heel Colby Covington. First and foremost, how excited are you for this fight?
I honestly haven't been this excited for a welterweight fight. Not a welterweight fight, a fight in general. Honestly, I think this could probably be the biggest pay-per-view of the year just because of this main event alone. I think this is a bigger draw than Usman fighting either of the two of them. So, yeah, man, there's just such a good backstory. You couldn't write it better. Their feud, they were brothers, and now they can't stand each other. And it's going to be just a great fight too. So
let me ask you the first burning question that I have in my mind, which is there any universe where Jorge Masvidal beats Colby Covington on Saturday?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, 100%. Obviously, we discussed this a little bit before in saying the fact that the longer that this fight goes, Masvidal's chances are definitely going to dwindle, but I think he's very live rounds 1, 2, 3, even because he carries a lot of power. Kobe's going to need to wear him down. So he's going to be fresh early. And that's when he's, most dangerous. He can knock pretty much anybody out. He's got vicious power. I mean, he's a legit dude. He's the betting odds have him at plus 250. So he's almost a 3-1 dog, but I mean, I could see a KO early. It wouldn't surprise me. I'll just say that much.
So I look at this one, and I'm going to preface this by saying I am truly a Street Jesus fan. This second coming of Jorge Masvidal, the Darren Till fight was electric. The beating of Ben Askren was the biggest knockout I think the UFC had since McGregor dropped Aldo with a left. That being said, when we look at these fighters' histories with Kamaru Usman, right? Colby is arguably winning their first fight before a ref stoppage. There's a slightly less compelling but still legitimate argument that he won the second fight. Obviously, the judges didn't see it that way. But then you look at Masvidal versus Usman, there wasn't any real question left in that fight, right? At that point, I think we kind of know Kamaru Usman put a stamp on that one. So just looking at their past fight history, I'm hesitant to say that Masvidal really has better than a snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah, I mean, we can start to do all the MMA math that we want. That becomes a dangerous game when you start, looking at past opponents. I did it with Julia Pena and Amanda Nunes, where you're like, well, she lost to Germaine Durandame. Look what Nunes did to her. So, I mean, I think it's really styles make fights. And, Kobe is known to exchange in the pocket. And I feel like that is really Masvidal's wherewithal. That's where he really excels. And I don't know, man, there's a couple moments early where I just know that, I think Masvidal is going to get a little bit the better of him early. It's just going to see how he can weather the storm, if the cardio holds up, and, what Colby Covington is there that night.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's break it down for a second. Let's take a few steps back. let's go back to when Masvidal's last rivalry with Ben Askren, which birthed the phrase super necessary, which I've now been non-ironically using since that fight.
Fair.
If Masvidal doesn't have lightning strike through his right knee, if that doesn't happen, do you think Jorge Masvidal beats Ben Askren? And do you think he beats him as clearly as he did in their fight?
Yeah, no, I mean, he caught lightning in a bottle. That was one of the most well-coaching, just drawn up game plans probably ever. You know, he knew that Askren, as soon as he goes in for an exchange, he ducks to the right. He came up with the right knee. It was just, you know, the coordination on that was just great. You're right. If that goes, you know, if that knee doesn't land where we are right now with that fight, Matt, I think what's interesting too that you bring that up is I think the line for that fight is exactly what it is right now with Covington and Masvidal. I'm pretty sure Masvidal was like right around the plus 250 mark. So they were giving him the same respect as they were when he fought Askren. I think Covington's going to be aware of that. You know, I think that kind of, you know, the one trick pony, not one trick pony, but the tricks out of the bag. He kind of knows what to expect. And I mean, I don't know if he doesn't land that knee on Askren. In the past fights, the wrestling and the grappling has always been his demise. Lost to Damian Maia that way, who's not really known to be a wrestler, just, you know, a more jiu-jitsu guy, fights off of his back. So, yeah, man, I mean, you're right. If he doesn't land that knee, we're in a completely different. I think Ben Askren wins that fight ultimately.
There are two things that I think Masvidal has coming with him. Number one, the MMA universe favors a completely unforeseen knockout. And number two, the MMA universe absolutely loves to see a wrestler get dropped by something that is just completely unexpected. Fight fans love to see a wrestler get hit, and fight fans love to see big knockouts. I think the MMA gods may smile down on that. If that lightning could strike twice for anybody, it's probably Street Jesus. You know, does he have it in him to baptize Colby Covington? I don't know. I think Vegas probably has those odds where they belong. But let's talk a little bit about this rivalry. Because I am probably not the skeptic in the group, but I'm a little skeptical of this rivalry. You tell me, what do you think? You think this beef is legit?
I mean, there's only two guys in the world who know if this beef is legit. But from what I've seen, I mean, they were boys early on. You know, Covington was apparently sleeping at Masvidal's apartment when he had nothing, coming fresh out of college as a broke student. And Masvidal paved the way for Kobe's success. And then, you know, both of their having so much success in the UFC led to the demise of their friendship, so to speak. I don't know if it's as legit as people are making it seem to be. I think that they're both feeding each other's fire to promote the fight, you know, yada, yada, yada. You got to do what you got to do to promote. But I actually do believe for their egos that this is a big deal. And I think both of these guys have probably two of the biggest egos in the UFC, and just losing to the other one would not be a good look. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of juice on this. I think John Anik said today that the loser of this fight will never fight for the belt again. So, you know, there's a lot of stakes. I don't know what that adds to the rivalry, but I mean, there's so much on the line too that I don't know. This is just winner takes all, really, this fight.
Well, I have to say, and I think John Anik is obviously promoting, you know, he's towing the company line with that line. I think there's absolutely a universe where Colby Covington fights for this title again. I mean, he's arguably beaten the champ once. He's arguably been beating the champ before a ref stoppage. He's, you know, if he's not the most dominant guy in this weight class, he's close to it. That being said, I'm hard pressed to believe, short of starching Colby Covington, I'm hard pressed to believe that Masvidal is fighting for this title. He's already been starched by Usman. other than that Ben Askren fight, which was, what was that, 2 years ago now? Other than that, his biggest claim to fame has been the BMF title taken from one Nathan Diaz, much to my chagrin and heartbreak. I'm hard pressed to believe that Masvidal, and if he does fight for the belt, I don't think we're going to be looking at that with any sort of sense of realism that he's going to beat Kamaru Usman. I just don't see it. I think lightning struck for Masvidal. It gave him a resurgence in his career, and that resurgence has been exciting to see. He's obviously figured out how to sell a fight better than the original Jorge Masvidal did. But as far as like legit title contenders, it's hard for me to think that Jorge Masvidal is in that conversation, even if he does catch, not to say that it would be lucky, but even if he does catch a lucky hit on Covington, I still don't know that he's a legit title contender.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. It's very fair. Keep going.
The reason I ask about this beef and how legit it is one, these are two guys who seem to keep finding beef wherever they look for it. It's the UFC's version of the boy who cried wolf. You have two guys who are about to step into the octagon that it seems like no matter who they fight, they have these long-running feuds with. Anytime Jorge Masvidal or Colby Covington are going to step in the octagon, I feel like I'm hearing about long-standing rivalries. I'm hearing about bad blood. I'm hearing about words exchanged, shoving at press conferences. I think these guys are both trying to steal from the Diaz brother playbook, and I think they're both trying to put their spin on it. And what I remember from years ago was when the when the Covington Usman rivalry first kicked off, when Colby was, sunglasses and MAGA hat, talking trash, cutting promo videos with paid women around him. There was a moment where Usman and his people showed up to some breakfast where Colby Covington happened to be just serving himself some bacon and eggs, getting ready to have a sit down. And Kamaru Usman was about that life. He was ready to throw down at a moment's notice. And you could just see, in the split moment before it all kicked off, Colby Covington looked up from a plate of breakfast like, wait. There's no cameras around. We're not cutting a promo. Like, what are you doing here? So I don't know. I almost wonder if this isn't a little bit of Vince McMahon movie magic going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in Kobe's shtick, like that's a lot of people say behind closed doors, he's like the nicest person in the world. And, this is what he's doing to promote himself. They were saying before the Damian Maia fight in Brazil, where he cuts arguably one of the most, controversial post-conference, of all time, besides anything McGregor's done. His job was on the line. So, he tried to make himself relevant any way he could. And, that's definitely part of his shtick. Masvidal, too, as well. You're right. You nailed it on the head. He tries to fight with everybody to try and, pump the fight up. The two-piece with Leon Edwards, that's another thing instead of super necessary that he's made mainstream.
Two-piece in a soda.
Exactly. Two-piece in a soda. So, it's for me nor me or you to say if this is legit, but I'm ready to tune in and watch these two guys bang. So.
Oh, listen, I've realized now that I am the mark that the UFC's been waiting for. It seems like if they had Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal in an octagon knitting sweaters at this point, I'm apparently going to pay $74.99 to watch it. So I am their mark, and I know that about myself. I just accept it. I own it. It is what it is. But before we move away from this one, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper here. What's your line for these UFC sort of rivalries? And I ask because, obviously, when we met each other, we were robbed of a Michael Chiesa fight, which, thoughts and prayers, let's take a moment of silence for that. We were robbed of a Michael Chiesa fight because Conor McGregor decided to throw a hand truck through a bus window. Now
Yes.
that's real on-site beef, right? If you're going to pick up a hand truck and throw it through a window, you've got some unresolved demons and you're clearly going to bring them to the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Mhm.
And it seems like since McGregor hit the scene, it seems like everybody now wants a rivalry. Everybody wants that WWF bad blood. Gone are the days of the gentleman combatant. What's your line with the UFC selling these hype fights? Does it exist? Are you always going to tune in for the beef? Do you think you're going to get to a point where you think it's too kayfabe for you?
I mean, I think that's just something that's inherent with promoting. I think that you're going to see that with, you're going to see it in every sport where they're saying like, this is a big rivalry. They try and make, nothing out of something. I think that this one though, for sure has more traction than past ones where they're trying to like grab at stuff. This story is already written. It's just a matter of how they're going to present this one. I'm always going to tune in. I love drama. I love drama that you can bet on. So, it's a win-win for me. You were saying that before the UFC had their mark, they definitely have their mark with me. So, yeah, man, I'm always going to tune in. I'm going to take it in stride and feel out how real I think the beef is. But yeah, I'm here for it. I'm gullible. Let's go.
Yeah. I ask the hard-hitting questions also that I can pull out a credit card on Saturday night and give Dana White more of my money, which he may or may not be giving to fighters who are risking life and limb inside an octagon. But definitely something that I'm sure that we're going to be circling back to. I'm sure that by July, by International Fight Week, they're going to have another two guys who were once best friends who are now going to strip down to the waist and grease up and fight each other for money. So I'm sure that we are going to revisit the issue of the UFC's kayfabe era. But we are talking about March 5th here, and the next fight that catches my interest, Bryce Mitchell, the good old boy, who once sawed off some part of his body with a drill down in Arkansas, has got his camo shorts ready to go, and he's stepping in the ring against the hardest kicking man that has ever walked planet Earth, that is one Edson Barbosa. How do you feel about this one?
I mean, this is, your typical veteran of the game versus kind of like your up and coming. I don't want to, it's hard to, I believe Bryce Mitchell is undefeated. It's hard to say he's a big upcoming star because his fight style is a very like relentless grappling where he's just going to literally maul you. This is a great fight, man. This is two contrarian styles where you're going to get your wrestler versus your striker. Barboza's sitting at, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you the line. Who do you think is favorite in this fight?
Oh, are you trying to jump ahead to round two already? I won't.
I just because this is a fight where it's tough to line this fight because Barboza is just, I don't know. He's dangerous against everybody. So if you had to pick a favorite in this fight, who do you think's favorite?
Well, let me say this first and foremost. I think we have to harken back to when Barbosa stepped in against Khabib, right? Khabib being, probably the greatest wrestler, if not ever, certainly the greatest wrestler since George St. Pierre to get in the octagon and do the damn thing. And he had Barbosa pretzeled up for most of the night, right? Barbosa was suddenly without the ability to kick your whole life into the next row. Barbosa had no answer for Khabib Nurmagomedov. And is Bryce Mitchell the same caliber wrestler as Khabib? Probably not. The future will bear that out. But he is 14-0, so obviously his tactics are working. Yeah, if you want me to pick a favorite, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have to listen until round two. Because I don't know that I have an answer yet. I'm going to have to marinate on that one a little bit more. But I am interested to see how Barbosa is going to stack up against another pure wrestler. I'm interested to see how Mitchell's going to stack up against somebody who kicks like a buzzsaw. This to me has main event caliber written all over it because this can go so many ways so fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Barboza could end this fight literally with one exchange. He catches Mitchell. Mitchell is not very sound on the feet either. His last fight, I believe, was Andre File, and he took him down a lot, but File was, he was landing in big exchanges. If Mitchell takes it to the ground, obviously this is his day. This has ground game written all over it for Mitchell. But I mean, Barboza has fought, like you said, he fought Khabib. That's just a different level. But he fought guys like Kevin Lee, who mauled him for pretty much 4 or 5 rounds. But when he did stand up, there were those, 5 to 10 second moments. If you're a Bryce Mitchell bettor, where you're literally holding your breath, like, whoa, like this guy could take my head off with one kick at any second in the fight. Yeah, man, it's a tough fight to pick. I think I definitely do have a lean of where I'm going to go with this, and we'll save that for more of the betting stuff later on. But I mean, the matchmakers know what they're doing with this fight. This is a big one. First time Bryce Mitchell will be in camo shorts as well. You have to think that that's going to have some effect on his performance. I mean,
got to.
Kind.
So out of Bryce Mitchell's last 6 fights, how many do you think were decision victories?
Out of his last 6 fights?
Last 6, how many were decisions?
2.
5.
Wow. He had the submission twister, right, on Matt Sales.
Had the twister on Matt Sales 3 fights ago.
Okay.
Before that, he went to a decision against Bobby Moffitt, Tyler Diamond, and Jose Mariscal. And before that, we have to go back to Isaac Ware for a rear naked choke in round 1.
Yeah.
So he came in, and his first, it looks like 6 fights are submission victories, and none of them are in the UFC. Then he finishes his non-UFC MMA career against Jose Mariscal with a decision, and it looks like 4 out of his 5 victories in the UFC, in the octagon, are decision victories.
Wow, that's a little bit surprising. I thought he had 1 or 2 more subs than he did. I knew that he had the twister over Sales, and he got close to doing it again. But yeah, no, that's, he's obviously not a potent finisher on the feet. I mean, that means that there's, an extra 5 or 10 minutes for Barboza to land something. Every round starts on the feet. So it's going to be a perpetual battle for him to take Barboza down. Barboza knows the game plan. So, I mean, this is a great fight. This is a really, really, really good fight. It's going to answer a lot of questions, about the 145-pound division, about who's next, and if Mitchell's legit, because I feel like Barboza is like the top 5 gatekeeper right now. I know that sounds harsh on Barboza, but he's the type of guy, like, if you fight him and you beat him, you're legit. And this is a big test for Mitchell. So, yeah, this is probably honestly one of the biggest fights I'm looking forward to on the card besides the main event, for sure.
I got to tell you, we started this round, and I'll maintain consistency. Bryce Mitchell, thug nasty, good old boy. That hits me where I live. I'm a Bryce Mitchell guy through and through.
Yeah.
But looking now at his last 6 fights, I'm a lot less hype on the thug nasty train than I was when I sat down at this desk, 15 minutes ago. And not only are these all decisions, but other than Andre Fili and Charles Rosa, I got to tell you, I'd have to really scratch my head to tell you what Matt Sales has been up to, or Bobby Moffitt, or Tyler Diamond, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about all guys who've gotten cut. I mean, Bobby Moffitt, I think he's in PFL. Matt Sales is no longer on the UFC roster. Charles Rosa, if he's not already cut, he will be cut. Yeah, no, you're right. You're talking about guys who are no longer UFC material. So,
we're talking about guys who ain't Edson Barboza.
No, that's for damn sure.
Edson Barboza with one place kick might send your knee somewhere to the concession stand, and none of these guys are about that life quite like Edson Barboza is. So I think this is truly, if nothing else, we could say that this is the test for Bryce Mitchell.
for sure.
This is where we find out, is he going to be just sort of a middle of the road, fun to watch, cut a good promo guy, or is he legitimately going to go in there and be one of the few American wrestlers to actually be doing anything big in MMA right now? Because I got to tell you, it looks like they have cemented their place as MMA wrestlers. But if anybody was going to do it, it might just be a good old boy in camo shorts who says, nah, America can still wrestle from time to time.
Yep. No, absolutely.
And since Gable Steveson has already decided he's going to the WWE, we don't have a lot of places to pin our hopes these days.
No, you're right.
But we are going to circle back to that in round 2. Let me ask you this question. Is the UFC crazy like a fox? That's a rhetorical question because we both know they are. But do they know exactly what the hell they're doing with Greg Hardy?
I don't think anybody knows exactly what they're doing with Greg Hardy. He's a Pro Bowler for the Dallas Cowboys, so his name reputability is why he's there. I mean, if he was not a all-pro defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys, he would not be fighting on the main card with I believe he's 500 in the UFC. If that. He was just he did just get knocked out by Tuivasa, who he had clipped and hurt early. He did have him hurt, and they're talking about a guy who just beat Derek Lewis, who's starting to get into title contentions. So I mean, he is fighting legit guys. He hasn't really beaten any of the legit guys though. So, how much stock the UFC has invested in him is definitely going to come back, down to this fight. And he's fighting a guy in Sergey Spivak who beat Tai Tuivasa badly. So if we're going to start doing MMA math, this is a tough fight for Greg Hardy, and he needs to get this done early. I think he can though. To your dismay and the majority of people's dismay, he might be able to get this job done. This is a big performance for him. If he loses this fight compared to if he wins this fight, you're talking cut from the UFC to, back to their paper trail. So this is a big fight for Greg Hardy.
Let's put a pin in who he's fought. Let's take the rope and we'll circle back to it.
Absolutely.
But before we get there, I think Greg Hardy is in this main event because he is a known domestic abuser, and I think we are all tuning in to watch him get his shit rocked. I know I am. I know for a fact that I am. I know that, the narrative when he came in, the narrative that I heard a lot of people pushing on Twitter was that the UFC should not be putting somebody who is a known domestic abuser on the roster to fight for money, that's not a good look, that this isn't something that morally the UFC should be participating in. And then lo and behold, I mean, they just kept feeding him soup can after soup can. And every time I watched, I would take to Twitter with my hot take. I would watch everybody else be absolutely furious that Greg Hardy won another fight. How many people gained fans only because they were fighting Greg Hardy? And then how deeply did the MMA universe rejoice when Tai Tuivasa rocked his shit? I think that is exactly what the UFC knows they have in Greg Hardy. They got a guy that people are going to tune in for just on the off chance that someone sends his head into the first row. And I think they know it. And I think that's why he's on the main card. Because if nothing else, I'll spend good money to watch a domestic abuser get beat up. If nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not something that he really frays away from either. I mean, he plays into this heel position. He knows kind of the image that he has, and he kind of embraces it, as fucked up as that is. So, I mean, he's definitely embracing that heel role. I mean, look at the guy who's main eventing the card to begin with. This is kind of, this has been a promoting tactic for a lot of stuff where everybody tunes in to see the guy lose. The highest paid boxer in the world does it, and Floyd Mayweather. And I mean, similar accusations. So, I mean, it's what the people want to see, man. It's what sells. And when you put it like that, then yeah, the UFC definitely does know what they're doing.
Now, circling back to who he's fought, he's got 2 losses in a row, one to Tai Tuivasa.
Volkov, right?
Marcin Tybura.
Ooh, yeah, Tybura beat him too.
Tybura beat him TKO round 2.
Yes,
And Tuivasa may have been clipped, but he finished him in round 1.
he did.
Now, before that, you gotta watch Maurice Green and Jorgen De Castro, both of whom lost to him, and then you get back to Volkov, who won a decision victory over him
In Russia, yep.
in Russia, right? And then you got to go all the way back to Alan Crowder for his last loss, which was a disqualification because of an illegal knee.
Then he fought like Dmitry Smykov, I believe, or something like that.
Smolikov.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, he's no longer in the UFC. Yep.
Shocker, right? Juan Adams. I haven't heard from Juan Adams in a while.
Yeah, no, every guy that you listed is cut from the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, every single one. Crochet Boss, Maurice Green's gone. Jorgen De Castro is fighting in Eagle FC with Habib's fight organization. I mean, yeah, you're right. His wins are, piss poor lined up pins. His losses are legitimate guys, though. That's the one thing. He went 5 rounds with Volkov in Russia, which is not, if you're a legit guy, to go rounds with Volkov is real. Tuivasa, like we touched on, he did get clipped early in that fight. I mean, he is, he's a slight dog in this fight. I mean, like I talked about before, this is a big fight for him. So that's all I got to really say about Greg Hardy. This is a big fight for him.
It is. And look, we're dealing with heavyweight mixed martial arts. We've got 3 options, right? We're either going to see a crazy knockout, someone's going to surprise us with some crazy ground game, or we're going to watch 2 fat dudes lean on each other for 15 minutes, right? Those are our options here. And there's really no middle ground for any of that. They both have losses to Marcin Tybura. It looks like Spivak has a little bit more depth of a career. He's 13-3 to Greg Hardy's 7-4. Obviously getting away from personal feelings about Greg Hardy. Clearly he's taking his MMA career seriously. He's fighting. He's an active fighter. He's an NFL. He's a former NFL player. He's a big man, with big hands and power in both. So obviously there's a path for him to beat Spivak, but Spivak does seem to be a legit dude. He does not seem to be another soup can that the UFC is feeding him. So I think this could be kind of a make or break for Greg Hardy. The UFC might have to cut bait if he gets knocked out by Spivak.
Yeah, no, and it's a tough matchup too, because Spivak's the type of guy that if you do not get him outside of round 1, if he dips on to the 2nd and 3rd round, he's going to start to grapple. And Hardy's, his main deficiency, without question, is his cardio. I mean, he infamously went for his inhaler between rounds. I mean, this guy, he's literally got one solid stern round where he's live and he can knock anybody out. But I mean, after that 5 minutes is eclipsed, he's in big trouble. So, if Greg Hardy takes this fight, it's going to be early, and we'll see what happens.
Well, what else is getting you jazzed on this card? Is there anything else we got to talk about in round 1?
The one fight, I know it's starting to kind of slip under the radar, but the RDA debauchery that we have going on here with Rafael Fiziev tested positive for COVID-19, I believe 2 or 3 days ago. So the UFC is looking to find a replacement. Well, was looking. They're now booking Renato Moicano, who just fought last week in a 2nd round submission of Alexander Hernandez. They agreed on a 160-pound catchweight fight. So this co-main event is still 5 rounds at 160 pounds. RDA, Moicano, there could be some big implications at lightweight, whoever wins this fight. Yeah, that one definitely has my eye as a co-main.
What's your read on that one? I mean, Moicano coming off of having fought on February 12th, I believe it was, to now step in on what is some extra short notice here against RDA. And Moicano, who is, obviously a good fighter, but is not a shooting star, right? Probably not somebody who's anytime, any place ready to go. You think RDA's got his number?
I don't know. I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm kind of a Renato Moicano truther. I actually think he's real.
Ooh.
If you look at his resume, I thought the Aldo stoppage was early. If you watch that fight back, I thought that was real early when they stopped that. He fought Calvin Kattar, who I think is legit, and he beat him up on the feet for 3 rounds straight. The guy is doing Polaris grappling tournaments. His BJJ is keen. He's a legit grappler. He's legit on the feet. He really has kind of all the tools to excel at this weight class. I think that this fight really, for me, is more of an indication of where RDA is at in his career. His trajectory has been really on the down. He's lost, I think the majority of his last 5 fights for sure, bouncing around weight classes, trying to, restart his career in any way he can. Yeah, I like Renato Moicano here, actually. And I'm gonna side with him here.
I was waiting for a hot take out of you, and we're finally getting a one. So I'm gonna know when I got a good thing on my hands, and I'm gonna say let's start talking about some bets.
Absolutely. So now that we're on this, Rafael Dos Anjos is a -165 favorite right now, and Moicano is a +150. So you're getting, a little bit less than 2-1 underdog in Moicano. I mean, I've seen way worse dog odds on this card than you can get with Moicano. The only thing that has me kind of restrained back a little bit is that it is a 5-round fight. RDA is cut out for 5-round fights. Moicano, I think he's fought 1 before and it only went to the 2nd round. And I know RDA's got cardio for days. I mean, he put on a clinic against Paul Felder. I believe that was his last fight, where he just absolutely dominated Felder from, start to bell every single round. Grapple just was on a different level.
As a Philadelphian, I remember that fight slightly differently. As a Philadelphian, a proud Philadelphian, I believe Felder got robbed. He took it 3-2.
Well, a judge actually agreed with you, because that somehow was a split decision. Probably the worst split decision I think I've ever seen in my life. And if you watch UFC as much as I do, that is a very, very bold statement. So yeah, no, that was horrendous. I'm going to side with Moicano. I think there are worse bets at +150, and on a couple days' notice, it is a little bit risky, but that's
so you're saying Saturday morning, you're cleaning the house, you're getting in the couch cushions, you find $20 you thought you lost. You're thinking Moicano's the place to put it.
Oof. Now, when I wouldn't go as that far, but I think if you're trying to spice it up and you want to play a dog and you want to add something into your plays that spices up the pot a little bit at +150, I'm not saying bet money you don't got, but if you want to have a little bit of fun and you want to get a good fight and a guy who's going to fight for your money, Renato Moicano is a guy who will fight for your money for sure.
Well, there we have it. What's all right? So you wanted to test my knowledge. You wanted to ask who I think is the favorite without me looking at anything. Hit me. What do we got?
So we'll trace back to where we started it off. Well, second fight, Edson Barboza and Bryce Mitchell. Who do you think Vegas is leaning toward to win that fight?
I'd say Vegas is leaning towards Barboza.
And you would be incorrect.
Wow.
And see this, it was a trap question because I knew you would kind of side that way. But as me and you started to discuss this and go over the records and really kind of hash this thing out, I've been leaning toward Barboza. My initial reaction was Mitchell by grapple fuck early and often, but I don't know, man. I think Barboza could be ready, will be ready. And he's another dog. This is a dogs is barking card as far as I'm concerned. I honestly think you could bet every single underdog on this card and have a profitable night.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's a not that bold of a statement in UFC, but yeah, no, I'm kind of leaning toward Barboza here, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell grapple fucked him for 3 rounds and you were just like, this is the most frustrating thing I've ever watched. So
always count on a wrestler.
Yeah.
Right. I'm 0 for 1. What's next?
All right. Kevin Holland. We didn't address that fight much in the lead up. We got Big Mouth versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira.
Oliveira, the fake cowboy, as I know him. Who do I think is the favorite? Well, in spite of the fact that I did just watch him lose live on Fury Grappling, I am going to say that Kevin Holland is the favorite here.
Yeah, and he's a very large favorite here. He's a 3-1 favorite. He's the exact same odds as Covington is to beat Masvidal. To give you, and I know that seems a bit steep. I mean, Oliveira is definitely, without a doubt, on just a downward spiral. His trajectory is probably out of the UFC, especially if he loses a fight like this. I don't know though. I think Holland's a safe play. I think he wins this fight. I don't see where he loses it. His grappling has gotten a lot better. Oliveira is not a super potent grappler by any means, and Holland should beat him on the feet. I think Holland's a safe play here too. So there you go. You're 1 for 1.
All right, 1 for 1. Hit me. What's next?
All right. We'll go down the line and we'll go Sergey Spivak and Greg Hardy. Who do you think the favorite is in that fight?
I think it's got to be Spivak.
Yeah, it is. It is Spivak, but it is slight. I may have mentioned before that Hardy was a dog, but it is a slight dog. Vegas does see it, kind of even matched. If you were to bet Hardy here, I would only do it by KO. I don't see any other way he wins this fight. He's definitely not going to win a 3-round decision. I don't think it'd be tough. You'd have to check the odds to see if that was really worth it.
He's definitely not throwing a flying armbar.
No. You don't have to worry about the sub bet. You don't have to worry about any of that. All right, we'll continue down the line. This is actually a very, I think is going to be fight of the night, sleeper fight of the night right here. I think this might be the main prelim fight to kick it off. Jalen Turner and Jamie Malarkey.
Interesting. So my inside baseball is that you are a Jalen Turner guy.
I am. I am a Jalen Turner fan, but I'm also a Jamie Malarkey fan.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
Who do I think is the favorite?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess Jalen Turner's the favorite.
He is the favorite. He's a slight favorite. Big 6'4", lean, sharp striker. Just very, very technical, a lot of power. He's fought a lot of legit guys, Vicente Luque, one of them to name one. But Jamie Malarkey is a guy who will fight for your money. This guy is very scrappy. He's not super good at anything in particular, but he strings it all together. He fights his ass off. He's got a ton of heart. He's a great fighter, but I just think technically speaking that Jalen Turner has the advantage here. He did get grapple fucked by Matt Frivola, which is very concerning. Anytime you see somebody on their back for 10 plus minutes in a fight, especially against a guy who's scrappy and can mix it up, it is a bit concerning. But I think in terms of just talent level, Jalen Turner is a legit dude who's on his way up, and he's a guy to definitely look out for.
All right, looks like I'm pulling back out here. 3-1 now.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so we can keep it going down the line. We got Marina Rodriguez versus Xiaonan Yan.
Well, given what I think about Marina Rodriguez's trajectory in the UFC, I'm going to say she's a favorite in this fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. She is definitely a favorite. She should definitely probably be on the main card. She just headlined 2 UFC fight nights, and they're sticking her on the prelims, which is
Greg Hardy.
Yeah, no, which is really an atrocity. You promote a girl like that, who's I think she's definitely top 2 in that division at strawweight. So if she wins this fight, she's going to fight for the belt next. I'm surprised she's not on the main card. That kind of blows my mind. But all right, we'll get to the bottom here. There are some fights that aren't even worth asking you. Anybody with the last name Nurmagomedov
is a favorite.
Is a favorite. So, he fights Brian Kelleher, who's like a savvy vet.
Who's still alive. So great for Brian.
Yeah, no, that is good news. But after this fight, that might not be the case because Umar Nurmagomedov is a monster. Kelleher can crack, though. Kelleher can crack.
Yeah, he can crack his back with a chiropractor.
No. He can crack. He can crack. Plus 475 is, he's a big, he has that price tag for a reason, but the guy can crack. We got Devonta Smith and Ludovic Klein.
Who do I think is the favorite in Devonta Smith versus Ludovic Klein? I'm going to go with Devonta Smith.
Yeah, he is. He's another guy who's like a very fast starter. Tries to catch lightning in a bottle quick. The UFC had a lot more planned for Ludovic Klein, but he's kind of, under succeeded expectations with, I think, what they had thought. Here's another interesting fight. Mariana Moroz and Maria Agapova. Two ladies who apparently have a equally as hateful, spiteful relationship as Covington and Masvidal,
and possibly a legitimate one.
Yeah, this one definitely seems legit. One of them apparently got the other one kicked out of a gym. Ooh. A lot of hate being spewed on social media. So these two ladies definitely don't like each other.
Ooh,
yeah. Tune in for that.
Yeah, that's one worth watching.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's a couple other little guys at the bottom. Nothing I'm super high on. Tim Elliott, Tagir Ulanbekov. That's a decent fight.
Gotta pick my guy Tim Elliott as the favorite there.
He's not. He's a 2-1 underdog.
Ooh.
But there's value in Tim Elliott because Tim Elliott is another guy who is going to fight for your money. He's somebody who you're going to bet on, and even at the end of the night, if he loses, you won't even be that mad at his performance because the guy, he's all heart and he lays it all on the line. He's not somebody who's going to quit. Plus 205. That's a little bit of juice that you could get away with. I'm not super familiar with Ulanbekov. I think he's a little overrated, though. I think some of those Russian guys, not all of them, the majority of them aren't, but some of them get a little bit more clout because they're associations with gyms, and they get these astronomical numbers that they don't deserve.
Well, I think if you're born with the last name Nurmagomedov, you're given a 3-0 UFC record at birth.
Yeah, no, that's.
I think if you don't have the last name Nurmagomedov, it better be Makhachev for you to be enjoying this level of clout.
Yeah, Makhachev, Magomed Sharapov.
There we go.
There are a couple little ones, but yeah, that should cover, the majority.
So we already did, Colby Covington is the favorite. I would have picked him as the favorite, without that earlier discussion. I think he is a clear favorite in this one. So what else do we have for betting? Anything else that we haven't gone over?
I'd be curious to check the Jorge Masvidal KO prop. I don't love it. I would imagine that it's probably somewhere around like +5, +600. I feel like that's kind of his only method of victory. Another guy where their only chance of winning is getting a knockout. So if you do like Masvidal and you lean him in any way, definitely do the KO prop. But Covington, he can pretty much get this done anyway. He could submit him. He could go to decision. I don't know if he would not. He probably won't knock him out. But I would lean Covington here. I don't have too much invested in it. From a betting perspective, -320, that's high. If you're doing DraftKings or something, he has a lot of output, and he's going to score a lot.
That's all your money right there is on Colby.
Yeah, he's just a lot of output. A lot of wrestling. He's going to score you takedowns. He broke the strikes record against Robbie Lawler. The guy is just nonstop pace. He can push and push and push the pace. But from a straight betting perspective at a book, I don't know. Probably Covington's a safe parlay piece, but it wouldn't hurt to throw a little bit on a KO for Masvidal as well.
So let's finish then. Let's finish then with the hot take here. You got your $20 out of the couch cushions. You lost it in there sometime around Thanksgiving in a turkey coma. Now you're cleaning up, spring cleaning. I got 20 in my hand. I'm going to put it somewhere with the expectation I'll never see it again. What fight am I putting $20 on?
Oof. $20 that you'll never see again. I'd probably parlay it, and I would take Jalen Turner and Edson Barboza just to add a little bit of juice into the parlay. You get an underdog and you get a slight favorite that'll probably give you, decent odds. Maybe you can make $100 on that $20 bet where, you're already paying $75 for the pay-per-view. So they got the hooks in.
You might as well get it back.
So yeah, exactly. Pay your pay-per-view and maybe a couple beers. Jalen Turner, Edson Barboza. I mean, I'd love to see the weigh-ins and see how these guys look. You can follow me on Twitter at JSure6. I'll post, more up-to-date stuff if there's something that I see late, and I will also be listing other plays on that handle.
You can also follow me on Twitter at Coop329. That's KOOP329. But if you do, be warned, it's mostly just a Michael Chiesa fan page. So if you don't want good flannels, quotes from the movie Vision Quest, and reasons that Michael Chiesa is the uncrowned champion, probably not a follow for you just yet. However, Saturday night, I do tend to get a little bit funnier as the night goes on, or so I've been told by my wife, who's legally required to say it. So with that in the bank, I think we've thoroughly covered what we got coming up Saturday night. Let's get into the final round here, which is anything exciting happening in the MMA world, which is of course a 3-ring circus that we've all dedicated our lives to. Did you see who Bellator signed today?
I don't believe I did.
Am I crazy, or did Bellator sign Kayla Harrison today?
I saw that they matched PFL's offer, but I don't.
Are we not official yet?
I don't believe that is official. I believe that PFL put out a contract offer, and Bellator has supposedly, set to the same terms, and they matched it. And Harrison is still coming out to make a decision. Nothing is finalized yet, though. I don't believe. So
give me your too early to tell prediction. Where's Kayla Harrison going?
I think she probably goes PFL. Just because it's a safer route. I know that might, I just feel like it is a safer route. That's not even being being a contrarian on this point. It's a way safer route. There aren't legitimate women in the PFL division that could challenge somebody like her at this point in time. She's undefeated. She opens up as a -2,000 favorite. You don't see that in MMA. You see that in boxing where the fights are fixed and they're setting the fights up and they're bringing in pins for you to knock down. And she is getting massive -2,000, -3,000 favorites in PFL. Like, she's not, the girls that she's fighting, they do not expect to win. I think I'd love to see her in the UFC. I mean, Bellator, I'd love to see her fight Cyborg too. I mean, she's one of those people like a Michael Chandler where you can just insert them right into the rankings and they can fight the top people because we know that they're that legit. And she's definitely one of those people. But I think she ends up in PFL. How about you?
So I think that that's a fair analysis, and I probably would have agreed, except for, did you see the Twitter exchange that happened after the announcement?
With Cyborg?
Cyborg sent out a couple of wide eyes emojis, and rather than responding like a normal person, Kayla Harrison said something to the effect of, "I'm sick of this shit," and then pulled a Khabib and said, "Send me location, I'm pulling up." So that is a huge money opportunity for Bellator, and I would not be surprised now that Kayla Harrison has sort of taken the bait to set up that rivalry if Bellator Scott Coker and the boys didn't come up with some folding money for Kayla Harrison for this one, because that's, I know Cyborg got starched by Nunes. We'll never forget that moment in time. But getting outside of that, she's still probably, if she's not the most dominant, she's one of the most dominant women in MMA right now. She's hits like a Mack truck, and to throw her in there against a world-class judo grappler, I think add a rivalry to that, add some Colby, add some Masvidal, add a little bit of Twitter shit talk. I don't know. We're looking at something that could take Bellator from being just a front runner to the UFC to being a legitimate competitor to the biggest MMA promotion on the planet.
Yeah, no, I mean, you might be right with that. I don't know the star power that, Kayla Harrison carries outside of the MMA scope. I don't know her deal on social media or how well she really sells. She's legit as can be, though. So anybody in the MMA world knows she's, a top 3 woman in the world right now. You're right, though. The painting is on the wall. Like, they just gotta get it done. Bellator, that it's there to happen. If it does, I don't know. I just have a feeling she's going to go to PFL, and it's going to be like a Ben Askren situation where, he didn't get any respect when he was fighting over in Risen or wherever he was fighting. I don't even know. One championship, sorry, where, he went undefeated and he beat a bunch of nobodies. And then he comes over to the UFC and just gets starched. I don't know. I could see that happen with Harrison for some reason, where she gets signed and then but
she misses the mark. So you're thinking maybe she ends up like she misses the mark. I mean, Ben Askren, 5 years ago, right? I mean, this is a story as old as time, right? The UFC kind of missed the boat on Fedor. They kind of missed the boat on Askren. A lot of people thought they were going to miss the boat on Cyborg because it took her a few years to get to the UFC and get signed. Obviously, they missed out on the Rousey Cyborg, circus that they had, I think, so desperately hoped for. So you're thinking maybe Harrison goes the same way. She fights soup cans for a couple of years too long, and then she kind of misses her big money boat.
I hope that's not the case. I really do, but that's where I'm leaning. That's what happens, but who the fuck knows? Who knows?
Well, I was surprised to see her. So she dropped the location of her gym today. She sent Cyborg the address and said, pull up any time. And she also said what I thought was kind of weird. She said, I'm sick of all this shit, implying that Cyborg was, and maybe she has been, it's news to me if she has, implying that Cyborg is this big shit talker who's going around just calling people out. I mean, Chris Cyborg, aside from being a dominant champion, is known for being somewhat of a humble fighter, known for kind of being, polite and, was sort of a voice in the wilderness when Dana White and Ronda Rousey were, taking pot shots at her and, for lack of a better term, bullying Cyborg for her appearance. So I don't know if maybe there's something going on behind the scenes, but Kayla Harrison took it from 0 to 100 immediately.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if that makes me think that that's going to make her sign, though. I don't know that. I feel like that's kind of like she's capping a little bit, like she's going to do something that she's really not. I don't know. She's obviously playing to the social media. All the exchanges are done on Twitter. I don't know, man. I hope she does sign with Bellator, though, and I hope they do line up that fight with Cyborg, and then it all comes to fruition, because what she's doing in PFL now will get old eventually. And, she knows that those aren't the top tier women, and she knows that she needs to be in either Bellator or UFC.
Too early to tell prediction. Cyborg, Kayla Harrison, who you taking?
I'm going to go with Cyborg. I'm just going to go with Cyborg because the experience against, higher talent levels. I haven't really seen Kayla Harrison go through any adversity before. And when you see a person who's never went through adversity and they hit that first wall of adversity, more often than not, the shit hits the fan. And Cyborg is as battle tested and battle worn as anybody. Fought everybody there is. Literally fought probably every single 145 pounder that exists. So, I'm just going to go off the experience part. she's a strong lady too. So I don't know if she's going to be easy to be held down and taken down at will. She certainly won't be as easy as her PFL opponents to take down. I don't know how well Kayla takes a shot. I'd be interested to see where Vegas lines that fight, but my early lean would be Cyborg for sure.
I'm going to say Harrison because I love a grappler. Always have, always will. But what I will say is, everybody thought it was going to be a grappler that sort of took Cyborg out, right? Everybody thought, Rousey's hip toss to an armbar was going to be the eventual downfall of Cyborg. But it turns out the only thing it took was really one well-placed fist to the chin from one Amanda Nunes, which actually took Cyborg down, and I think is her only defeat to date. So as much as I'm favoring Harrison, I think youth is on her side. I think grappling experience is on her side. I wouldn't be surprised to find out either that Vegas disagreed with me or that I was just wrong.
Yeah, no, that's that's why that this type of fight has to happen, because it's just the unknown. Kayla Harrison's becoming so predictable now, and the same with Cyborg when she fights in Bellator. They're just like extremely predictable fights, and I think that's what the UFC does such a good job at, is they put fights together that you can go like, wow, who is going to win this fight? Like, I really don't know. Like it adds that much more to it. And with Bellator and PFL becoming this drawn out, just same conclusion over and over again, for all the reasons we've discussed, that's why that fight needs to happen.
I agree. What else is anything else happening in the MMA world that you wanted to throw on the fire tonight?
I did see that there were verbal commitments on both sides for Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev to be fighting April 9th at UFC Jacksonville. That's kind of the biggest. Khamzat hasn't had a fight announced in a while, and I feel like he's the new breadwinner, or the potential breadwinner now for the UFC. Kind of all eyes are on him. That's an interesting fight. Gilbert Burns is no joke. So, that's a legit guy. And I would love to see that fight. And that's definitely got my attention.
That one's verbally agreed. And I heard they're eyeing or they're targeting Shevchenko Santos.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like that might be coming for UFC 275. That'll be fun for us to talk about down the line. Yeah. Talk about what criminal charges can be filed against Valentina Shevchenko or the UFC as a whole when she murders another woman inside of a locked cage.
Yep.
Real excited about that. The only other thing, I guess, and I think the MMA gods are telling us to wait before we start talking about Cain Velasquez taking the blicky out for a spin, either against somebody who assaulted someone in his family or the relative of someone who assaulted someone in his family. So I am going to take my cue from the universe and not say a word about that one just yet.
Yeah, no, that's a situation we definitely want to just let unfold a little bit, a little bit further. Let's see how that one plays out a bit.
Let that one marinate. I don't want us to become public enemy number one during our first episode.
No, for sure. I mean, anytime a UFC fighter or pre-UFC champion is accused of attempted murder, it's going to be a story in the MMA world. But I mean, it's so early. We don't know a lot. I believe that Cain Velasquez is in jail with no bail set. Yeah. So, I mean, they clearly have something to hold them to that regard. But from what I've seen right now, I don't know if you've been on, I know you've been on social media for MMA stuff, but there's been a lot of fighters coming out with like free Cain. A lot of people are coming out of the woodwork. A lot of fighters who have worked closely with him, a lot of people who know him closely that have been coming out of the woodwork and defending him and saying, how good of a guy this is with I mean, really no bad reputation prior to this. I mean, he's been pretty much, a replica citizen, exactly what you want, the ideal guy. I mean, from what I've heard in the past anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how this one, unfolds.
Well, I think I speak for everybody in the MMA sphere when I say, hey, it's not John Jones for once.
Yeah, no, Jones is probably psyched, so that's
Yeah,
good.
he's super psyched to see somebody else from the UFC in jail. Well, it looks like the first episode of the 10-8 round is coming to a close. I will say to our fans, all three of them out there, as we grow this podcast, keep your eyes peeled, because if we can figure out how to do it, you will get a hot take from Mike from the Bronx, giving us an MMA hot take for the week.
Oh,
If he can find childcare coverage, if his wonderful girlfriend will let him, he might be bringing us something scorching hot off the fire. But if not, tune into our Twitters on Saturday, Friday, weigh-ins. We'll be bringing in the hot takes. And other than that, John, you fucking casual. Let's get out of here for the week.
all right, buddy. I appreciate it. And I'll see you on fight day.
See you all on the other side.
All right.